Are they pretty much got it? Everybody.
Okay, we just had the 8th Kinetic Sculpture Race, and this is, again, our continuing love song to Baltimore and to what it is to be able to be lived so close to such incredible water, such incredible neighborhood, and the crowd this year was the best ever. And the really cool thing was the Middle Eastern television showed up, and this race, they stayed through the entire thing, is going to be portrayed, broadcast all throughout the Middle East, and in Tunisia and in Morocco, etc. And we had the crowd at the Boston Water Stop chant, "Salam alaikum."
Hi, top of the morning.
Top of the morning.
Welcome to Top of the Morning. I'm Meschelle
And I'm James Brumfield.
and we are in the USS Constellation.
It's got a lot going on today. You can hear there's a tour going on behind us.
There's a show going on.
Yeah, you can hear the guy.
There's
Hear music
people walking by.
and the water taxi.
Oh yeah,
We have a great show today. We have Dr. Sharon Moore coming on.
talking about entrepreneurship. So everyone has their entrepreneurial side.
Yeah.
You just gotta find it.
Right.
So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
Gunpowder explodes, his job is to do what? Push everything out of there, right? What? Space from that exploding powder. Right around the shell, right around the projectile, goes out the muzzle even before the projectile gets out. So we have a lot of wasted energy out there. It's not too efficient. Also, unlike what you might be thinking, the projectile itself isn't coming straight out of the barrel. It actually comes down the barrel like this. It's called balloting. So I have a very good aim right here, but that's coming down. This last hit or so may send it off somewhere else. So your accuracy could be way off also. You're lucky to do it, right? But even with those problems of efficiency and accuracy down, if you have a good 14-man crew, 9 pounds of that powder, 32-pound projectile, and then you have the lucky day. You can reach out and touch someone with those guns about 1.5 miles away.
Welcome back to Top of the Morning. I'm James Brumfield.
I'm Meschelle and
we're joined by a very special guest. Thank you very much for joining us. You're here to tell us more about entrepreneurship in education.
Right, yeah.
Is there anything?
All parents want their children to grow up to be self-sustaining. They want them to go out into the world and do well. And part of that is being sure that as they go through the educational system, they are prepared to be both an employee and an entrepreneur.
How is it I'm trying to, I see a connection because of trying to figure out why they're in school.
Mm-hmm.
But how can a teacher be an entrepreneur?
Actually, teachers are very entrepreneurial minded because they're constantly solving problems, they're making presentations, they're interacting with people, so they have some basic skills that are already in place in terms of thinking like an entrepreneur. They have to solve problems every day.
Okay, so they're not like trying to come up with a new business of teaching or something like that?
Well, entrepreneurship awareness can go across the curriculum. It can be in math, science, the language arts, social sciences. And let me give you one example. Suppose that the children are studying, say, the Founding Fathers. And they look at the fact that the Founding Fathers pretty much were entrepreneurs. And just to make it humorous, I mean, what if these guys back then had to say to their boss, well, I'm going to go to this convention in Philadelphia and I'm going to be gone for a couple of weeks. Do you mind? That would not have worked. It's because they were entrepreneurs in part that we are here.
So as kids, if they, you want to start them young, and they have some little idea, let's try to work on it. Because, kids are pushed into certain areas and not allowed to develop. And is that what entrepreneurship is, kind of let them develop what they want to do?
Sometimes it takes years, and I think that's what's missing in our educational system. It takes years to develop an entrepreneurial mind. For instance, I know a woman who opened a toy store. She studied toy stores for 10 years, but opened in several months. And so that's what this is, to put that time in place so kids can start to develop a self-image that someday I might be an entrepreneur. Because we know that if we want children to be scientists, we start them in second, third grade looking at science. So the same things need to be in place for developing their minds as entrepreneurs. It takes time.
It seems like when women started entering the workforce, they got rid of home ec in schools. Do you remember home ec when you learned how to cook, I guess? I never had it for me. But they never had a class like where you learn how to balance a checkbook or figure out what a business is, like in social studies.
Before you answer that, we just got to make sure everyone knows that we are on the USS Constellation. And there's a lot going on downtown in the harbor. There's a boat we hear in the background. There's a helicopter. You see people walking around. So don't be alarmed.
You might hear a cannon too.
Yeah, so some horns. Good.
And well, actually, there are more personal finance courses now going into the schools. And you're absolutely right. People have to have their personal finances in order before they can be an entrepreneur.
Right.
You have to learn how to manage money and do those kinds of things. So what can happen all throughout school is as children are doing word problems, math word problems, that can be written right into the word problem. I own a company that makes sailboats. I own a company that makes cookies. I own a company that makes shoes. That they can be woven right in there just very subtly so that they start to think to themselves, well, sure, it's natural. When I leave school, or when I enter high school, I will start to think either I'm going to own my own business or I'm going to be employed.
Right.
Those are the two main avenues.
The point is that you'll see a lot of math word problems with where they're selling apples or something, but they don't really explain whether or not those are really his apples. He's a salesman selling someone else's apples. They don't really get into that. The kids are just kind of trying to figure out how many apples are being sold. It's always in bulk. They can never figure out before the teacher hits time. Well, anyway, I think we should take a break right now, and we'll come back and we'll talk a lot more about this.
About
Don't go
apples.
anywhere. About apples.
Okay.
All about apples. I hated math. Oh, okay.
Dancing to life, mindless and careless. Make sure you're wearless. Trouble is rife. Woes are bleeding. Blows are glancing when you're dancing through life.
Dancing through life, down at the Ozas, if only because dust is what we come to. And the strange thing, your life could end up changing while you're dancing through.
Welcome back. We're on the USS Constellation in downtown Baltimore, and there's a lot of activity going on.
You can probably hear a lot of it going on.
Yes, and we're here with Dr. Cheryl Moore, right? And we're discussing entrepreneurship and education and how it should be intertwined.
Right.
I had a question. Are you an entrepreneur or a teacher?
I've been both.
Okay.
I taught
That's
at
kind of
several
the point you're trying to
universities.
make.
Yeah, and my field is educational psychology. And my dissertation research was on approaches to learning. And I had been teaching courses like educational psychology, history of education, measurement evaluation, which is how teachers evaluate students. And I thought there's something missing here. There's something in terms of something's not right, because students were exiting college actually, and they didn't have the skills to make a living. And they actually developed a term for that, boomerang kids. They'd end up back in the homes with mom and dad again. Something's wrong here when you can spend 16 years in school and not walk out and say, I'm confident about making a future for myself. So that's what I examined, approaches to learning and how this all could fit together.
Well, a lot of students go to graduate school and they think they can't get a job with their degree, and then
That's right.
I think you're probably right. There's a lot of people that get degrees and get a job, but not in the field they got a degree in, or not what they were really looking for.
Well, I know when you were discussing with financial, like the financial part of school, we don't learn that. I mean, I went to school, got my professional degree. They teach you nothing about learning the finances of how to run a business, but how to work in the business. And that's where the problem is.
Seems like there's secrets they don't want to give away, obviously, on the business side. The successful people don't want company, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think we'll take some adjustment in the educational system. We really have seen the middle class kind of shrink. And it used to be you graduated from college and you went to middle management. Well, that's gotten smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And so to me, the shift needs to be, okay, that's not there so much anymore, so let's shift and give them something that will allow them to make their futures very strong. And I'll tell you, one reason I'm very interested in this topic is I want all these kids to grow up and feel real confident about paying into Social Security. No problem.
Yeah.
We're making enough money, we can just fund that with no problem at all.
Sounds good.
Yeah. One other question. How would a classroom change in a high school or a college? Obviously, all the classes, like every subject would change in a small amount, but would there be one special class, would you say? Because you could take a business finance class, but usually learning about compound interest or foreign loans or debt instruments, but not actually how to hire people or how to get a job. Like, you didn't even have resume classes, which would have been handy for
you?
Not for me, but for lots of other people.
Well, actually, the secret here is that kids would have a portfolio. And as soon as they do something connected to entrepreneurship, it goes into this portfolio. So if they do a math problem in second grade that talks about being a business owner, that would go into the portfolio. If they do, an assignment, write an essay, write a poem about being an entrepreneur, that would go into the portfolio. And then as they get into middle school, they would start specializing. Most states have what are called career clusters. So if my career cluster is going to be medical, then I could start focusing my reports on the medical industry. Or if it's going to be transportation. And so again, you put it into the portfolio, put it in there, clear from elementary to high school. And then when you start looking at college, you have a new set of demands for those colleges.
Right.
Not only can you train me to do something, but I want to make sure you can also develop my entrepreneurial mind.
Right.
And if it's not a match, I'm going someplace else. So the colleges will need to step up to the plate too and start looking at, just rewarding entrepreneurs and the entrepreneurial mind like they rewarded basketball players or football players. Here's a future star entrepreneur. Let's give them a break on their tuition.
I never thought of keeping like a poet would keep a portfolio of poems they'd written.
Right.
And then, after they become a professional poet and become famous, they start selling their portfolio, just like anybody else.
I should have done something more with my
I know,
allowance.
I didn't keep them in the portfolio.
My allowance is spent it.
It's terrible. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to talk to Cheryl Moore a little more.
And you've graduated, but now what do? The Charles County Sheriff's Office has a great career opportunity for you. We're expanding and have immediate openings for corrections officers. Successful candidates will work in our state-of-the-art facility, enjoy a starting salary in the mid-30s, and be entitled to great benefits. Join our winning team, Charles County Sheriff's Office Corrections. Call 301-609-3918 today, an equal opportunity employer.
Welcome back to Top of the Morning. We're here on the USS Constellation with a whole lot going on. Lots of wind and noise and
Music.
I hear music now,
I thought you
too.
heard the ice cream man. I don't know
that
what
what
we're
it is?
here.
Ice cream?
It could
We
be.
gotta take a break for ice cream. No, we're gonna talk with Cheryl Moore a little more on the USS Constellation. It's pretty exciting here. Is there any future plans you want to tell us about?
Well, I would love to get involved with the schools or with foundations or national associations to start bringing this concept, entrepreneurship, will work across the curriculum and through the grades into the schools and to start making it attractive so that foundations can pour money into the schools and help students become entrepreneurial.
Help students become self-sufficient, really,
Right.
is what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Whether they're working at McDonald's and don't know how to balance a checkbook.
To anything, with no business. I
Yeah.
mean, even the person who starts at McDonald's could own a McDonald's, but if they don't know how to,
Absolutely.
it needs to be there.
Yeah. Something you have to write your congressman. Now's a good time to do that.
So how is this, are they taking steps towards getting us into the school system?
There's some foundations that are moving monies around. They're realizing that they need to include everyone across campus, and they're just now, in the last few years, starting to move those monies to make nurses more entrepreneurial, to make other people across the campus more entrepreneurial. But yeah, I think it's fundamental. That entrepreneurship awareness is to the business community what health awareness is to the medical community, and certainly Baltimore is nationally and internationally known for health awareness, so there's no reason why Baltimore can't step up to the plate with its millions of dollars in education and be equally well known for entrepreneurship awareness, that there's just an entrepreneurial mindset in Baltimore.
It certainly wouldn't help.
It's all supply and demand. If you have the one thing that people need, you gotta know how to market it.
Right.
I saw a man who made his own T-shirts at the Hunfest yesterday. Very, very entrepreneurial. Rude T-shirts, but that was his business plan. It worked. I think other countries are doing this. Japan and Germany, they're always working on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, in other countries, children grow up thinking entrepreneurially. If you're in a country where your parents make rugs for a living, 4 years old, 5 years old, you're brought into the business and trained. It's just automatic, and we just don't have that in the United States, and we need to start with little kids.
It's something you mentioned earlier, and actually I read it in the Kiyosaki book, but about we're trained to be employees. And that's kind of sad, not saying to all the big businesses, but I mean, you're trained to work for someone else. Why we should be trained to work for ourselves?
Yeah, the two go together. So that when somebody exits high school and they're only trained to be an employee, to me that's like hopping around on one foot. To have both feet on the ground, at times you want to be an employee, and at times you want to be an entrepreneur at different stages of your life, and so you can flourish throughout life.
Yeah, like the teaching a man to fish versus giving a fish, right?
Right.
I don't know. So it looks like we're taking a quick break, and we're going to be right back, so don't go anywhere.
Tell them how I am defying gravity. I'm flying high, defying gravity, and soon I'll match them in in all of Oz, no wizard that there is or was is ever gonna bring me down. Look at her, she's waiting. Get her. Bring no one mourns the wicked, so we shall to bring her down.
Welcome back to Top of the Morning. We're here with Cheryl Moore on the USS Constellation. It's a lot quieter now because the boat and airplane just left.
Yes, it is. So, and we're talking about entrepreneurship.
Yep.
And the globalization.
And how
the computer has actually helped with entrepreneurship.
It's made the world a lot smaller, I guess.
Yeah, you can go online, and it helps an awful lot with research. If children are going to start to focus on a career cluster, the computer makes it very, very easy. If they're going to be in the transportation cluster, they can go in and investigate that, what's going on in that industry. And like any entrepreneur, what they're looking for is something that's missing. If they're, looking at the medical or health profession, what's missing? What can I do as an entrepreneur? And certainly the computer just makes that so much easier. And then they can add that to their portfolio and become an expert. And that's what an entrepreneur is. They're an expert at something.
You can go so much further. You can reach other. I mean, now that they have free long distance online and email or whatever, internet. I mean, you can send your business all over the world without, from your basement. So it's.
Yeah, there are hundreds of thousands of people.
Not from your mother's basement, but from your own. Don't come home.
She's kidding. Wow.
Gosh, there's a lot going on down here.
Traffic, I guess that's what it is. It's a nice car wash.
So, where would you like to see the future go?
I would like to see that when I walk up to a young person in a few years, that I will know that that person is being prepared to be an entrepreneur, and I can say, what's in your portfolio? Or what do you see in your future in terms of being an entrepreneur? That it just becomes ordinary, common conversation. Right now, the conversation revolves around how are you doing in a standardized test? That seems to be running a lot of families around in circles.
Yeah, because that doesn't tell you how you're going to do as a rock star, basketball star, movie star, which is like the three. When you ask a 6-year-old what they want to do, it used to be astronaut, fireman, and doctor. And now it's, I don't know how they, as far as entrepreneurs go, to be an entrepreneur for all of those things. But, when you ask someone that's just starting out in school, realistic ideas or what they really want to do, they don't even know yet.
Right. And then that just keeps going and going and going, and they can have 16 or 20 years of education and walk away saying,
I got good
I didn't learn
SAT
anything.
scores. No job.
Right.
Yeah, it
right.
is.
No future. Yeah. Right.
But college kind of helps you figure out what it is you hate doing, so you figure out what it is you want to do. I did a lot of what I hated to do. It was great. Helped me figure out what I wanted to do.
Well, I guess a lot of parents would be wise to say, is this college going to prepare my son or daughter to be both an employee and an entrepreneur? That's a solid education.
And then also, it's not necessary you may need college. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who don't go
I know
to
a lot of
college.
entrepreneurs that
So,
never did.
if you're trained from elementary school to middle school, and you know that college is not for me, I'm going to try to start my business. And maybe 7 out of 10 businesses don't start, but you keep trying and trying and trying, and that one may start. So
people might go back and take a specialized class in some field that they're interested in, to help their business, and that could be great. But it's nice when they know ahead of time what business they want to go into, what they want to do with their lives. That is the question. A lot of people that are like, all their lives are going through that, right?
If you can just look at what you want to do as an entrepreneur, you may say, I just need 3 or 4 or 5 courses. I just need a bookkeeping course. I don't need, 5 or 6 years or 8 years. You're right.
I mean, that changes your whole way that you look at
Right.
if you need to go to school and get a degree.
Yeah.
Versus, just taking some classes.
Yeah, and they can go to college and say, when are you going to help me make me an entrepreneur and an employee? Am I going to have 2 things when I come out? And if not, shop around. And I'm hoping what will happen, colleges will have to start to say, okay, we're going to look at these ideas when they come in the door. We're going to set up a system that we help them all the way through, and it's part of our obligation in terms of retaining students, and in terms of attracting students, and in terms of creating an entrepreneurial culture. And we must love it because we now have TV shows where we watch people become entrepreneurial, like in The Apprentice.
Yes.
You must like it.
Or just like become a millionaire by answering questions back. One way or the other, education is very important. So I guess we're going to look at some.
Just 2 friends, 2 good friends, 2 best friends, sharing one wonderful one short.
The wizard will see you now!
Welcome back. We are on the USS Constellation, and there's a lot of activity going on in downtown Baltimore. At the harbor. We have the helicopter, the boats, the people, the tours, the shows, everything.
Yeah.
And we're here with Cheryl Moore talking about entrepreneurship. And any final thoughts you have for us?
Well, Baltimore has an international reputation for health awareness. Everyone recognizes that. There's no reason why it can't also develop a reputation around the world for entrepreneurship awareness. Health awareness is to the medical community what entrepreneurship awareness is to the business community. So I think there's real hope in Baltimore being able to be a world and national leader. And entrepreneurship awareness would be from kindergarten, from the picture books, when you start reading to kids, to graduate school. People can graduate from graduate school and still not be ready to run a business. So it's woven across the curriculum, it's made to be creative and fun, and it prepares a student so that when he or she exits education, whatever grade, that person has both feet on the ground. They're prepared to be an employee as well as an entrepreneur, and they aren't hopping around on one foot if they're only like they would be if they had only been prepared to be an employee.
Well, we were discussing before how, there's people who have tons of education. You go to school to be a lawyer, tell you to be a lawyer, be a doctor, a physician, anything professional, but they never teach you how to be an entrepreneur. So you get out there and you say to the physician, well, how do you run your practice? I don't know. All I do is take care of patients, and that's the wrong thing to do. And there's a lot of embezzlement going on because you don't know what's going on in the front office.
Very painful.
Yeah,
very painful. But if you were prepared, if the young person is prepared all along, they will know going into college, this has to be part of my life. And so they will be prepared going in saying, I know I'm going to be a lawyer, but I better be a lawyer that is marketable, because if I go in and study to be a certain kind of lawyer and there's no place for me, I need to make a shift. And they can make that shift while they're there rather than getting out and saying, wow, there's no place for me. And the same thing with being a physician or a dentist or anything else. Where am I going to fit in once I get out? What's going to be my market?
You could be a great lawyer or a great doctor, but if you can take a generic sort of how to run a business kind of, you could,
So would the entrepreneurship kind of intertwine with marketing? Like people get masters in business, so is it kind of almost the same?
You need to advertise.
It's a little bit the same, but they are now moving entrepreneurship out of the business school and starting to look at a specific area in which you're going to be an entrepreneur. So it's a little like what happened in education. They say, okay, you have basic courses on how to teach, but you have to know